Welcome back to another episode of Dear Laura. I'm super excited that you're here, and we're going to dive into a question that I received recently. I was speaking at a conference in Connecticut, and I had an office manager who came up to me at the beginning of the session to talk about how much she has on her plate, how much responsibility she has, how she's responsible for fixing everything, and how can she find enough time to do all the things that we talked about in the session because she does it all. And I really wanted to address that individually to her and to the listeners here, because a lot of times we feel like we do it all because we're the one who takes it all on. And I'm not saying that maybe we do have issues with the teams not trained or the dentist gives us a lot of responsibility, which is amazing. But really, I believe the first issue when somebody feels like they're doing it all is to look in the mirror and figure out why that is happening. And there's two things that I think when looking in the mirror and deciding why you're doing it all, actually I should say three things, but two things that I can think of that really the first step I would do is do these two things. And when looking in the mirror, the first thing is to decide for yourself, what is a priority? What is important? See, we tend to, and when we work in the front office, when we are an office manager, we tend to think everything's important, right? And running a dental office, there's a lot of priorities. But my issue with everything being a priority is nothing is a priority, right? The word priority didn't even become pluralized until the 1900s in our English language. Like literally, a priority means one thing, maybe two. But if you feel like everything is a priority all the time, you're going to be running around all the time handling everything because everything's important. And again, if everything's important, nothing is. So the first thing is to realize if you feel like you've got a lot on your plate, what's on your plate, right? Because not everything is important, which leads me to the second thing, which is to learn how to delegate. And if you feel like you're the only one who could do these things, you're the best at these things, you are the only, if you delegate it, they're not going to do it as good as you, or you don't have time to train, then you're always going to be doing everything. So when you're looking at everything on your plate and when you're realizing what's a priority, the things that are not a priority, the things that are not things only you can do, the things that others can do, maybe not as good as you, but if you train them, you give them the resources, they can do it. Those things need to get put onto other people's plates, which leads me to the third thing, which I wasn't going to say, but I'm bringing it up now because I think it makes a lot of sense, is that then you've got to learn how to delegate. You've got to train others. And I tell a story a lot where I had somebody on my team who was helping run the practice when I wasn't there. And she was amazing. She could do everything almost as well as I could, if not better. But yet every time I asked her to train somebody else to do something, as soon as she started to train them to do something and they made a slight mistake or didn't understand anything, she would just say, scoot over, I'll do it. And so even though she was attempting to train people, even though she was attempting to delegate, if they made any sort of mistake or it didn't go as fast or she didn't think it was as good, she would just say, scoot over, let me do it. Well, when I would circle back around to the employees and say, why aren't you doing this? They would say, well, Kate's doing it. She just told me she was going to do it. And so again, this is the thing about looking in the mirror. If you are pushing it off, you're telling them, I'll do it. You're the best at everything. Everything's important. Then maybe the reason you're doing everything is because you're setting it up that way. So all of the other things about your practice and how to run a practice and talk to your dentist, there's a whole bunch of other things you can do in there. But the first thing I would do, and I told her this when we were talking, is to stop, figure out what's a true priority, figure out how to train others to do things, figure out what you can train them to do, and then let them do it, which means they're going to make mistakes, which means you're going to have to go back and show them again, and which means they're not going to be as good as you. But if they're doing it, at least you don't have to. So hopefully that helps somebody listening to this. Again, welcome to Dear Laura. If you have other questions like this, please send them to Front Office Rocks. We do this on a regular basis, and I would love to hear what issues you have in your practice to give you my 2 cents. And on that note, I hope you guys all have an amazing day.